You're probably asking yourself, can you do this? Can you actually afford to travel outside your country and meet someone and spend enough time with them to determine whether or not they are a good candidate for a potential relationship and even love? At the end of this video, I have a recommendation that took me 3 countries to finally figure out, and I did it on the last trip when I went to the Philippines. So definitely watch out for that towards the end of the video. Does it cost money to find these women? Once you make the connection, will there be long distance fees being that they are outside your country? How much will it cost you to rent a place in your destination? How much did my plane ticket cost to travel outside my country? Will you need a car? Or can you rely on taxis, Ubers, and Lyfts? Food expenses. I'm going to cover this from the time you leave to the time you come back home. And if you've been following my channel, then you know that I date outside my country in search of love. And I'm currently working on a big possibility for my last trip I took to the Philippines. I want to share an approximate on how much it will cost you to travel to a different country and spend about 4 weeks with someone you have already met through a dating site. Of course, cost will vary depending on your location, but I'm going to give you my cost, and I'm living in LA, so I'll fly out of LAX International. It's a good idea to have already met your lady or man through video calling and messaging before you arrive. This process is not as much as you think, and the only part that you'll have to overcome is having the confidence to actually get on the plane. Is it necessary to spend money on a dating app to make connections? No, you don't have to, but it will speed up the process enough that you'll definitely feel like the investment was worth it. Some dating apps have options that will help with the matching process and most likely will make you pay for these features. I'm not a huge fan of Tinder anymore, but they do have 2 features that I need in a dating app that helps me to make my connections a lot faster. One is called a super like, and it allows you to spend a small amount of money to notify your match that you've sent them a super like. You don't have to hope they swipe right on your profile to match because they see the super like, and now when they see it, they'll have to make the decision on whether or not to like or dislike you. But at least you have their attention, and now they have to make the decision. The most important option you'll need is to be able to change your location where you're swiping. Tinder will charge you about $24.99 for the Plus membership each month to have this feature, but Hinge allows you to do it for free. Tinder is the largest dating app with the most users worldwide, so even though I'm not a big fan of this company, I do use them. How about talking, texting, and video calling your match? Well, this costs money. Most of the women that I've talked with in the past use an app called WhatsApp. And moving outside the dating app to this platform is the first goal when talking to any match. This app is free to download on your phone and on your computer with unlimited calls, video calls, messaging, and it has many features that make using this app very user-friendly and cost nothing. Your basic cost will be plane, taxi, or renting a car, a place to stay, food, and something like I like to factor in is spoiling your companion. This could be with gifts, flowers, really anything nice, but that's not mandatory, so for the sake of the video, I'll keep that out. Location will be a deciding factor on whether or not this will be inexpensive or a bit costly. Let's start with my trip to Colombia, the city of Medellin. Now, I chose this location because of the dance culture, as I love to dance and I like getting down, and the American dollar goes really far in Colombia. So, round trip for me traveling from LAX to Medellin cost $624. I use a cheap airline search app called Cheap Tickets to find the best prices, and this price will be economy seating, so the cost will be as low as we can get. I did have to switch planes twice, but eventually I did make it. When looking at different flights, I normally look for the least amount of time for the overall trip while keeping the cost as minimal as possible. This means you might have to change planes once or twice, and sometimes your departure times can be in the middle of the night, but that's the cost of saving money. Now, in Medellin, I was in the center of the hotspot, so I didn't feel I needed a car. I used Uber when my destination was not walkable, and it worked great. And also, it was very inexpensive. After 5 weeks of Uber, I ended up spending $56. And that included the ride from the airport to my condo, and that was a 45-minute ride. Okay, let's talk about the condo that I stayed in. And to find this place, I used the Airbnb app because it's simple and I have never had any issues. I like to choose a place that's comfortable for me, where I can get my laundry done, my room cleaned. I also want my girlfriend to be impressed because, well, she'll be staying with me probably most of the time. Bear in mind that the price that I paid can be significantly less. I'll give you those numbers as well. For 4 weeks in a safe building with a daily maid and a rather large jacuzzi inside my room, this costed me $2,200. To be exact, $2,208 for 4 weeks. It was well worth it, but if you didn't need a jacuzzi or the security, along with being close to everything, you could easily have spent much less. Here's a place for $506 for 4 weeks, and it's a nice place. Still in a good area, but just not on top of where the night activity is going to be. So a taxi or Uber will need to be factored in if you plan to head out to eat or go shopping or maybe some nighttime fun. Let's factor in food. I like to dine in the high-end restaurants, so we'll factor in an average of $20 a plate 4 times a week, and the average restaurant at $9.50 for the 2 other meals. That will bring us to $852 for all meals, and depending on whether or not you drink, that should be factored in as well. Let's do some math and find out the cost of the trip. The flight, $624, the room, $2,208, food, $852, taxi, $56. So this trip, staying in the jacuzzi room with security and some amenities, you're looking at $3,741 for 4 weeks. $3,700 sounds like a lot. So let's say you stay in a less expensive Airbnb, you don't have a jacuzzi in the room, but still comfortable, and you're an Uber away from the city center. You'll be looking at a total cost of $1,781, and that's for 4 weeks. Most people will only vacation for 1 week or 2, so you see how the price will drop dramatically when you shorten your stay. $1,700 for 4 weeks is an amount that is within reach even if you have a small income. Let's look at another country that I went to, Poland, 5 weeks. The ticket price, round trip, was $1,553. I didn't have to rent a hotel or Airbnb because this was my second time visiting this lady and I stayed at her place the entire time. But I will look at current prices and factor in the cost for the sake of the video. Airbnb for 35 days cost $849. Car rental, 5 weeks, and I do recommend a car in Poznan, so that was an additional $385. Gas, $257, depends on how far or how much you're going to drive. Food ran me about $10 to $15 a day, and so that total is $525, which brings my total to $3,569. So this location was a bit more than the Colombia trip, but we can see the cost is going to vary dramatically depending on your destination. If you're willing to dig, you'll find many places to go that are similar to my Colombia price range. Countries such as Brazil, Thailand, Costa Rica, the Philippines, Peru, Romania, Egypt, India, Siberia, Indonesia. Just do a little research and I'm sure you'll find a great location that you would love to go see that fits inside your budget while dating outside your country. I've been doing this for years now, and the locations, the people, the experiences are such a satisfying feeling inside. I hope every single person at least tries it once or twice in their lifetime. Okay, time for my recommendation. When planning a trip like this, I would purchase a one-way ticket so you're not confined to a certain date when returning back home. I've learned that I don't like to know the exact date that I have to fly home. I prefer to buy the ticket when I'm ready to return, and this also allows me the freedom to see other areas and catch a plane, maybe from a different airport if need be. You do spend a little bit more money doing it this way, but the freedom you have is well worth it. Now, I'm gonna keep putting content out around dating outside your country and all that goes with it. So if this is something that you're interested in, stay close. And I'm Jason, and yes, I'm looking for love.